This is 101 Mind-Blowing Facts, and we're back with even more fascinating trivia, whether you asked for it or not. Today, we're diving into some surprising questions and revealing some mostly useless but undeniably fun facts. Get ready for round of 101 Mind-Blowing Facts. Over 40 billion Oreos are made every year, making them the most popular cookie in the world. The design on the cookie includes the Nabisco logo and the word Oreo. This famous pattern was created in 1952 by William Turnier. Oreos come in many varieties today, like double-stuffed and flavored options, loved by people everywhere. Headphone jacks have rings at their base to show sound features. A jack with one ring supports mono sound, meaning the same sound plays in both ears. 2 rings indicate stereo sound, allowing different audio in the left and right ears. 3 rings include a microphone, enabling calls and voice recording. Fruit Loops come in orange, red, purple, yellow, and green colors, but they all have the same fruity flavor. The different colors are just for show and don't represent separate tastes. The cereal's sweet and fruity blend remains a favorite among children and adults. The E in the Dell logo is tilted intentionally. Michael Dell, the company's founder, wanted this design to symbolize innovation. The angled E represents Dell's goal of turning the world on its ear with groundbreaking technology. A compass points to the magnetic North Pole, but this isn't true north. Earth's magnetic poles are reversed, so the compass needle points to Earth's magnetic South Pole, which is near the geographic North Pole. Tiny red spots in eggs are caused by a small blood vessel breaking in the hen while laying the egg. These eggs are safe to eat, and the spots can be removed if desired. The spots don't affect the taste or quality. Understanding this natural occurrence helps reduce unnecessary food waste. Carmine is a natural red food coloring made by crushing cochineal beetles. It's used to color items like candies, drinks, and baked goods. The shiny glaze on candies comes from shellac, made from a substance secreted by Indian lac bugs. While these natural additives are common, many people are unaware of their insect origins. Round maintenance covers, often called manholes, are designed for safety. In ancient Rome, square covers were used but could fall through diagonally if not placed properly. A round cover eliminates this risk as it has no angles and can't slip inside its opening. This simple design prevents accidents and ensures durability. The Golden Gate Bridge's iconic orangey-red color wasn't the original plan. Initial suggestions included black with yellow stripes or candy cane colors for visibility in fog. When the steel arrived with an orange primer to prevent rust, the architect preferred it. The color, called International Orange, became the final choice, enhancing its visibility and charm. The legs on the back of keyboards aren't ergonomic and can strain your wrists if used too long. Instead, they're designed to tilt the keyboard, making letters and numbers easier to see for those who don't know touch typing. Using a flat keyboard is better for wrist comfort and typing speed. The color of a chili pepper doesn't indicate its taste or spiciness. Smaller chilies are usually hotter. Contrary to popular belief, the heat isn't from the seeds but from the white membranes inside, which hold the seeds. These membranes contain capsaicin, the compound responsible for the heat. The space below the noodles in a cup of noodles is called middle suspension. It helps protect the noodles during transport and ensures they cook more evenly and quickly when hot water is added. The small hole in the barrel of a ballpoint pen is a venting system. It ensures smooth ink flow by balancing air pressure inside and outside the pen. Without this hole, the ink might not flow evenly, making writing difficult or uneven. Gas station nozzles have magnetic brackets designed to prevent damage. If someone forgets to remove the nozzle before driving off, the brackets detach safely without damaging the gas pump or causing accidents. In 1986, an IT manager at Berkeley was tasked with investigating a strange 75-cent computer usage bill. The investigation took 10 months and revealed that a hacker had used the system to steal U.S. military secrets and sell them to the KGB. Men wearing wedding rings wasn't always common. The trend began during World War II when soldiers stationed far from home wore rings to remind them of their wives. This emotional gesture became widespread after the war and is now a universal tradition. The Romans staged naval battles called naumachia for entertainment. Real boats and fighters were used in massive arenas filled with water. Julius Caesar organized the first naumachia to showcase Rome's engineering and military power, leaving audiences amazed at the spectacle. When Pope Benedict XVI announced his resignation in 2013, he did so in Latin. Only one journalist, Giovanna Chiri, understood what was happening and reported the news first. The rest of the press had to wait for an official translation, giving her a huge scoop. Nathan's famous hot dog started as a small stand in New York in 1916. To convince people his cheap hot dogs were safe, Nathan Handwerker hired men in lab coats to eat them. People believed the doctors were endorsing the food, and sales soared. The brand is now a fast food icon. The Tetris effect happens when someone spends so much time playing a game or doing an activity that they start seeing its patterns everywhere, even in dreams. This unique psychological phenomenon became so famous that a video game was named after it. Scientists tested crow intelligence with a vending machine experiment. The birds learned to use tokens to get food, and even created their own tokens by imitating the required shape and size. Stephen King's Dollar Baby program allows students and filmmakers to adapt his short stories for only $1. By offering non-commercial rights at such a low cost, King supports aspiring creators. Many of these adaptations have been praised for their creativity and originality. The word jazz is considered the hardest to guess in Hangman, according to mathematician John McClune. He ran 8 million simulations and found its rare letters, like J and Z, made it almost impossible to guess. Words with Q and V were also tough, but didn't compare to jazz. Oak trees have mast years, producing many acorns in some years and very few in others. The lean years starve animals that eat acorns, reducing their population. When a mast year follows, more acorns survive to grow into trees, helping the forest regenerate naturally. Early Christians avoided the cross as a symbol because it was associated with execution and shame. Instead, they used symbols like the fish or the Chi-Rho monogram to represent their faith. These secretive symbols allowed them to practice their beliefs discreetly in dangerous times. In the Middle Ages, a group known as the Adamites tried to recreate the Garden of Eden on Earth, living in the nude. They rejected clothing, as they believed clothes were a symbol of sin. The group also rejected marriage and had a very free attitude toward relationships, similar to hippies, advocating for sexual freedom. In 2001, Pizza Hut made history by sending the first takeaway to space, a slice of salami pizza. The pizza was specially made with extra spices and salt because space reduces the effectiveness of taste buds. The entire stunt cost $1 million, with Pizza Hut paying the bill. Imagine getting paid to eat pizza in space. In 2002, a NASA intern stole $21 million worth of moon rocks with the intention of impressing his girlfriend. He kept the rocks under his mattress for some time before attempting to sell them. The intern ended up serving 6 years in prison for the crime. The FBI once suspected Albert Einstein of being a Soviet spy due to his support for civil rights, pacifism, and his generally left-wing views. They even feared he might be working on a death ray. The FBI kept him under surveillance for 22 years, with a file that grew to 1,800 pages by the time he died in 1955. Einstein also had a secret daughter, named Lieserl, with his first wife, Mileva Maric. He never mentioned her to his family, and biographers only discovered her existence in the 1980s. No one knows what happened to her, making her a mystery of Einstein's life. Gustav is a notorious crocodile that lives in Burundi and has killed up to 300 people. Measuring over 6 meters in length and weighing a ton, he's still on the loose. He's been known to attack children near the shores of Lake Tanganyika, making him one of the deadliest creatures in the region. About 68% of the universe is made of dark energy, and 27% is dark matter. This means that everything we can observe and measure, regular matter, makes up just 5% of the universe. In simple terms, we know almost nothing about 95% of everything in existence. In 2011, South Korea passed the Cinderella Law to help combat internet addiction. The law bans anyone under the age of 16 from playing online games between midnight and 6 a.m. However, parents can request an exemption for their children. Alberta, a province in Canada, is the largest inhabited area on Earth that is free of rats. Since 1950, rats have been officially considered pests, and everyone, including authorities, is responsible for killing them. Possessing a pet rat in Alberta can lead to a fine of up to $5,000. The term maverick, used to describe someone who doesn't follow the rules, comes from a 19th century Texas cattle rancher and politician named Samuel A. Maverick. He refused to brand his cattle, which was the standard practice, and his surname eventually became synonymous with independence and nonconformity. Thomas Edison taught his girlfriend Mina Miller Morse code so they could secretly communicate when they were with others. When it came time for him to propose, Edison used Morse code to ask the question, and Mina responded with the same method. Since 1996, the modern Olympic Games have never been canceled or postponed in peacetime, until COVID-19 caused the postponement of the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. The Summer Olympics in Berlin 1916 were canceled due to World War I, and the 1940 and 1944 Summer and Winter Olympics were canceled because of World War II. Flowers are adapting to climate change, with plants increasing their UV pigmentation by about 2% each year between 1941 and 2017. This change is caused by thinning ozone layers and higher temperatures. While we may not notice the difference, pollinating insects, like bees, perceive flowers as darker, which could confuse them and potentially affect pollination. Mexico abolished slavery in 1829, and many enslaved people in the United States sought refuge there, especially from Texas. It's estimated that between 5,000 and 10,000 enslaved individuals crossed the border. When America tried to convince Mexico to sign a treaty to return escaped slaves, Mexico refused, asserting that anyone who arrived on Mexican soil was free. In 2004, during an interview with Professor Stephen Hawking, a camera operator accidentally unplugged a socket while adjusting the lighting, setting off a siren. This caused Hawking to slump forward, making it seem like his life support had been disconnected. However, it was later discovered that Hawking was fine and joking about the incident. The alarm was triggered by power being cut to his computer. In 2019, Microsoft implemented a 4-day work week for employees in Japan during the month of August. The results were impressive. Productivity, measured by sales per employee, increased by 40% compared to the previous year. During the filming of Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, Japanese authorities denied permits for one scene. Despite this, the filmmakers went ahead with the shoot, and a fall guy was hired to stand in for the director. The fall guy served a night in jail for filming without the proper permits. Muhammad Shah, the ruler of Iran from 1789 to 1797, once sentenced 2 of his servants to death for arguing too loudly. However, it was a holy day, so he postponed the execution and sent them back to work. That night, the servants killed him before their planned execution, cleverly beating the system. On New Year's Eve 2019, inmates from 2 Mexican drug cartels, the Gulf and Zetas cartels, played a friendly soccer match in prison. The game ended with 16 deaths, 5 injuries, and a riot. Prison officials confiscated 4 guns, 17 knives, and 77 bags of marijuana, taking 2 hours to regain control of the facility. Aluminum, or aluminium as it's called in some parts of the world, is highly recyclable. Nearly 75% of all aluminum ever produced in the United States is still in use today. However, the U.S. still throws away $700 million worth of aluminum each year. In India, polling stations must be located no more than 2 kilometers from voters, even those in remote areas. In some cases, elephants and helicopters are used to reach isolated individuals. This massive operation involves 11 million government workers, ensuring that every citizen has access to voting. Jock is a marmalade cat who lives at Harpswell, the family home of Winston Churchill. The Churchill family requested that a marmalade cat with 4 white socks and a white bib always live on the property. Since the property opened to the public in 1966, Jock number 7 has been the current cat, continuing the tradition. The Michelin Man's real name is Bibendum, and he was originally white because rubber products used to be white before 1912. Early tires were either gray, white, or light beige. Tires became black after carbon was added to improve their strength and durability, which is why the Michelin Man, symbolizing the brand, is now white. Raven, a chimpanzee, holds the record for the most successful chimp on Wall Street. In 1999, after throwing darts at a list of 133 internet companies, her dart selections delivered a 213% gain. This success made Raven the 22nd most successful money manager in the United States. Research suggests that forests are only the 5th most efficient way to absorb carbon in the fight against climate change. Seagrass is actually much more effective at absorbing carbon. 1 hectare of seagrass is equivalent to 10 to 40 hectares of dry land forest. Unfortunately, seagrass is declining globally, which poses a threat to this important natural solution. Honeybees might be an unexpected ally in the battle against breast cancer. Scientists have found that their venom can be used to destroy cells of 2 types of aggressive breast cancer. In certain concentrations, the venom can be effective within just an hour. The tests are still ongoing, but these findings could lead to new treatments for cancer in the future. In Japan, curry is considered a Western dish rather than an Indian one, which might seem surprising. This is because Japan underwent a long period of isolation until the mid-19th century, during which the British introduced curry to the Japanese. The locals considered it a Western dish, even though the British had originally encountered it through colonial India. Before the internet, if gamers were stuck on a level, they had a third option, calling Nintendo game counselors. These counselors manned the power line, which was essentially a phone service that provided one-on-one guidance for gamers. This service allowed players to get help directly. Prairie dogs, though not actually dogs but rodents native to North America, have a complex language. According to a study at Northern Arizona University, prairie dogs can communicate specific details, like the difference between a tall human wearing blue and a short human wearing yellow. When Danish missionary Hans Egede arrived in Greenland to spread Christianity, he found that the local Inuit people had no concept of bread. To make the Lord's Prayer more relatable, he modified it, including the line, "Give us this day our daily seal." This cultural adaptation helped the local people connect with the teachings in a way they understood. During the construction of the Golden Gate Bridge, 11 workers died. However, the number could have been much higher. As the bridge was being built, 19 men fell from the side, but were caught by a massive safety net below. Those who fell and survived were considered members of the Halfway to Hell Club. Casey Kasem, the original voice of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, was a vegetarian. He quit the role in the 1990s after being asked to voice the character in a Burger King commercial. When he returned to the role in 2002, Shaggy also became a vegetarian on the show. The Pentagon has more bathrooms than it actually needs, twice as many in fact. This was due to the segregation laws in place when it was being built. Designers were required to create separate facilities for black and white employees. However, before the Pentagon opened, President Roosevelt prohibited segregation among federal workers, making these extra bathrooms unnecessary. When it opened, it became the only non-segregated building in Virginia. The first country to recognize the independence of the United States was Morocco. In 1777, Morocco opened its ports to the U.S., 6 years before the end of the American Revolution. The two countries signed a treaty of friendship in 1786, making it the longest unbroken diplomatic relationship in U.S. history. Poison dart frogs are famous for their toxicity, but when raised in captivity, they aren't poisonous at all. Their toxicity is believed to come from their diet in the wild, where they eat ants, beetles, and termites that have absorbed toxins from plants. These frogs do not produce the toxins in captivity because their diet differs. In 2004, a barber who had cut Neil Armstrong's hair decided to sell the trimmings for $3,000 to a collector. Armstrong was upset about this and threatened legal action unless the hair was returned or a $3,000 donation was made to charity. Eventually, a donation was made to settle the matter. If you want to move to the Antarctic settlement of Villa Las Estrellas, there's one major requirement. You must have your appendix removed. This is because the nearest hospital is over 600 miles away, and the doctors in the settlement aren't specialists. This precaution helps prevent any medical emergencies that could be difficult to handle in such a remote location. The Great Green Wall is an ambitious project aimed at planting a massive wall of trees across the width of Africa. The goal is to create an 8,000-kilometer-long barrier across the Sahel region to stop the Sahara Desert from expanding, while also combating drought, improving food security, and mitigating the effects of climate change. The Simpsons episode where Bart and Lisa write an episode of Itchy and Scratchy was inspired by real-life events. It was based on an episode of Tiny Toon Adventures called Buster and Babs Go Hawaiian, which was written by 3 8th graders who impressed executive producer Steven Spielberg. In Churchill, Manitoba, Canada, it's customary for residents not to lock their cars. The reason for this unusual practice is the threat of polar bears. If a polar bear appears, people prefer to leave their cars unlocked so they can quickly escape into a nearby vehicle for safety. A man who won a $12.5 million lottery prize in Jamaica showed up to collect his winnings wearing a scream mask. He wanted to hide his identity to prevent people from learning about his newfound wealth, despite the fact that his name was printed on the check. Traffic jams in China can be so severe that companies offer services to help you cut through them. The service involves sending 2 people on a motorcycle to navigate through the gridlock. One person stays with your car while you ride off on the motorbike. This service costs about $60, helping you avoid hours of sitting in traffic. The 1927 Liberian presidential election is considered one of the most rigged in history. Incumbent President Charles D.B. King won the election by a landslide, receiving 234,000 votes to his opponent's 9,000. The only problem? Only 15,000 people were eligible to vote. Sticking with dodgy election practices, the term gerrymandering comes from Massachusetts in 1812. Governor Elbridge Gerry redraw the voting districts in the state to favor his party, but the new map was said to resemble a salamander, according to the Boston Gazette. The combination of gerry and salamander led to the term gerrymandering, which refers to the manipulation of electoral boundaries for political gain. Houdini's famous Chinese water torture cell sounds like a terrifying experience, but it was actually one of his most successful magic escapes. The trick was so impressive that Houdini wanted to protect its secret. Rather than patenting it, which would have revealed how it worked, he performed a one-man play for an audience of just one and copyrighted the trick, keeping its secret intact. In Cuba, government vehicles with available passenger space are legally required to stop and offer rides to hitchhikers. This law ensures that people who need a ride can get one, and it reflects the country's emphasis on helping others when possible. Studies show that smoking can take up to 10 years off your lifespan. However, if you quit smoking before the age of 40, you can almost fully regain those 10 years. The earlier you quit, the better, as you can live as long as someone who never smoked at all. Don Cheadle was given just 1 hour to decide whether or not to play War Machine in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, a role that would span over a decade. When he mentioned he was at his kid's birthday party, his agent allowed him 2 hours instead. Scientists in China have discovered a way to grow human tooth enamel. By mixing phosphate, calcium, and trimethylamine into an alcohol solution, they found that it stimulates the growth of enamel with the same structure as natural tooth enamel. This discovery could lead to new dental treatments in the future. If you remember eating Brussels sprouts before the 1990s, you may recall them being quite bitter. But thanks to a Dutch scientist who searched for sweeter varieties, the modern Brussels sprout has a much more pleasant taste. Over the past 20 years, these tastier sprouts have become a lot more popular. Niihau, a Hawaiian island, was privately purchased for just $10,000 back in 1864. Today, it's known as the Forbidden Island because access is strictly controlled. Only the 130 residents and the owner's family can visit the island. India and Sri Lanka were once connected by a land bridge as recently as 1480. However, a cyclone destroyed this connection, and what remains today is known as Adams Bridge, a chain of shoals between the two countries. In 1922, Albert Einstein gave a Tokyo courier a handwritten note instead of a tip. The note read, "A quiet and modest life brings more joy than the pursuit of success bound with constant unrest." The note was sold at auction in 2017, where it was expected to fetch between $5,000 and $8,000, but it sold for $1.56 million, far exceeding expectations. In 1724, Margaret Dixon was hanged in Edinburgh for killing her baby. However, after her execution, her family heard a knocking from inside the coffin. To their shock, Margaret was still alive. She went home and lived until 1765, gaining the nickname Half-Hanged Maggie for her survival. Walt Disney once accidentally kidnapped then Vice President Richard Nixon in 1959. While at Disneyland, Disney and Nixon hopped on a monorail and Disney said, "Let's go," before the Secret Service agents could get on board. The agents chased after them but couldn't get on, and Nixon reportedly enjoyed the whole adventure. It's possible to become intoxicated from drinking tea, especially if you consume large amounts of certain types. Drinking 4 liters of Earl Grey tea per day over an extended period can lead to symptoms like blurred vision and muscle cramps in the stomach, legs, feet, and hands. However, reducing the intake to 1 liter of Earl Grey per day can help alleviate the problem. In 1944, future U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower couldn't attend his son's graduation from the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. Eisenhower wrote to his wife explaining that he couldn't make it because he was too busy with work. His work at the time was coordinating and leading the Allied invasion of Europe. Ironically, his son John graduated on June 6th, the same day as D-Day, a pivotal moment in history. People in the Middle Ages weren't as uninformed as often portrayed. Contrary to popular belief, they didn't think the Earth was flat. By around 300 BC, most educated individuals understood that the Earth was spherical. The misconception that Columbus proved the Earth was round in 1492 was based on later myths, not historical facts. The idea that Columbus debunked the flat Earth theory was invented in 1828 by an American author named Washington Irving. His book, The Life and Voyages of Christopher Columbus, made this narrative widely known, nearly 350 years after Columbus's journey. The farthest point from any open sea on Earth is the Zunzuan Basin in China. Located at specific coordinates, it is 1,645 miles away from any coast. This point, often referred to as the Pole of Inaccessibility, lies deep within the landmass. In 1964, Bell Labs in New Jersey was dealing with interference on their Holmdel horn antenna, which was producing a buzzing sound. Astronomers Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson tried everything, including removing some pigeons nesting in the antenna, but the buzzing persisted. They eventually discovered that the source of the sound was cosmic microwave background radiation, a key piece of evidence supporting the Big Bang theory of the universe. In 2012, a woman in France was sent a phone bill for an astonishing 11.7 quadrillion euros. For context, 1 quadrillion is 1,000 trillion, and the entire global economy is worth around 71 trillion euros annually. The phone company initially said they couldn't do anything about it, but offered payment in installments. Eventually, they admitted their mistake and corrected the error. Sometimes fruit isn't strictly vegan. For instance, lemons and other fruits often have wax applied to them to make them look shiny and fresh. This wax is sometimes made from shellac, which is produced by insects. While the fruit may appear appealing, the use of insect-derived wax makes it not completely vegan-friendly. By the time humans reach the age of 70, their eye lenses naturally become yellowish. This yellow filter alters their ability to distinguish certain colors, like blue from purple or yellow from green, making color perception less accurate. Half of the human brain is dedicated to processing visual information, while only a smaller part handles flavor. This dominance of vision is why the color of food strongly influences appetite and taste perception, often overriding actual flavor. The brain instinctively perceives red apples as the sweetest and ripest due to their vibrant color. Meanwhile, the absence of naturally blue foods makes them less appealing or even fear-inducing, as blue is often associated with spoilage or unnatural elements. Blue lighting in refrigerators or eating from blue plates can naturally suppress appetite. Since blue is not a color associated with food, it subconsciously reduces interest in eating, making it a useful trick for consuming fewer calories. Brightly colored fruits and vegetables are perceived as richer in flavor and more nutritious. Choosing these foods not only satisfies the brain's visual preferences, but also promotes feelings of health, vitality, and happiness during meals. Yellow is a color that naturally stimulates appetite, as it evokes energy and excitement. On the other hand, white plates make food appear brighter and seem less calorie-dense, which often tricks people into overeating without realizing it. The color of food packaging can heavily influence taste perception. For instance, if salt and vinegar chips are placed in a cheese and onion bag, people might not even realize the flavor is different while snacking, highlighting the brain's reliance on visual cues. Different colors evoke specific emotions. Red boosts courage and physical strength, yellow enhances happiness and productivity, green brings harmony and balance, while orange provides warmth and comfort, making it ideal for relaxation areas or cozy environments. Many animals, including birds, fish, and mammals, have color vision similar to humans. For these creatures, recognizing the full color spectrum is crucial, as it allows them to distinguish ripe fruit from unripe, ensuring survival and proper nutrition. Yawning involves activating muscles in the mouth and tongue, which can press against the salivary glands. This sometimes causes a small, unnoticed squirt of saliva, a reflex some individuals can consciously perform, making it an unusual party trick. Saliva is essentially filtered blood that is processed by specialized glands and cells. These glands absorb specific properties from the blood, transforming it into saliva, which aids in digestion and oral health. People with naturally red hair make up only 1% of the global population, while natural blondes account for 2%. Most individuals with these hair colors have dyed their hair, making black the most common natural hair color worldwide. Your body position significantly impacts memory recall. For instance, standing and waving makes it easier to remember a past event where you waved to someone, as similar physical actions trigger related memories. So that was 101 mind-blowing facts. Did any of these surprise you? Do you want more videos like this? Let me know your favorite fact in the comments below. While you're at it, don't forget to give this video a like. It really helps us out, and hit that subscribe button to stay in the loop for more amazing content. And hey, there are 2 videos on your screen right now that are guaranteed to blow your mind even further. Go ahead, pick one, and I'll see you there.